Everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this presentation entitled Stars Aligned, Presenting UT Dallas AASHE Data Through the Lens of the Sustainable Development Goals. A quick introduction to myself. My name is Paulina Hruskoci. I am a junior studying Geospatial Information Sciences and Political Science at the University of Texas at Dallas. For the past year and a half, I have served as an eco rep or a part-time student worker at the UT Dallas Office of Sustainability. I have also had the opportunity to serve as a teaching assistant at UT Dallas for a Sustainable Development Goals focused course. Outside of my work at the Sustainability Office, I'm also involved in student government, student organizations, and have worked in internships at the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, the Brookings Institution, and Audubon, Texas. With that, I'm excited to jump right in and share some of the work I've been doing at UT Dallas for our Sustainable Development Goal Report over the past year. Many of you are probably already familiar with these Sustainable Development Goals. These feature 17 goals the United Nations introduced in 2015 with the goal of accomplishing them by 2030. These goals introduce 169 unique targets and 232 unique indicators that show progress towards these goals in measurable numbers and measurable data across the world. Although these are global goals that feature international partnerships and domestic partnerships, they can also be effectively utilized at the university level. At UT Dallas, we utilize these SDGs as an interconnected framework for advocacy across our campus. We recognize that our work at the Office of Sustainability is not just recognized with environmental sustainability, but also relevant to economic and social sustainability. We utilize these goals to create partnerships with other departments and professors across our university, and also to intertwine social, environmental, and economic sustainability. These SDGs are also especially useful for us because they are specific and measurable, as I previously mentioned. We can measure the work that our university is doing to accomplish these goals because of the targets and indicators that they have introduced. And lastly, and most importantly, these SDGs are hope for the future at UT Dallas. We recognize that it is possible for our university to contribute to accomplishing these goals by 2030 by introducing inclusive policies and other different targets and indicators that we can actually accomplish at our university. Something that was helpful to us was in 2019 when the Association for Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education released for how to connect our previous STARS reporting with a Sustainable Development Goal report. We had a goal of developing a Sustainable Development Goal report at UT Dallas because it would help us to create a more inclusive view of sustainability at our university, as well as increase our collaboration with stakeholders. Past that, a Sustainable Development Goal report would also create a motivation for progress and create a background basis for us to push for institutional change in other different sustainable development goals. We had previously released a sustainability report that focused more so on the work that our office was doing, but we really wanted to take the next Sustainable Development Goal report in order to recognize all of the work we were doing for all 17 SDGs. That guidance that the Association for Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education released actually enumerated each of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and outlined the different STARS data measuring points that contributed to each SDG. For example, this is the page for Zero Hunger. As you can see, they listed Zero Hunger's targets and indicators, but also listed how STARS could be aligned to this SDG. For example, under academics, there are the STARS reporting points of AC1, academic courses, AC5, immersive experience, AC8, campus as a living laboratory. That way, any university could look at this alignment chart and be able to realize whether they were contributing to SDG Zero Hunger through these different STARS alignments. We utilized these at UT Dallas in order to translate our STARS report to a Sustainable Development Goal report. As we were looking at this AASHE report, a final product vision for our finished Sustainable Development Goal report started to come to mind. We knew we wanted a public-facing product that students, faculty and staff members, and community members alike could all look at to see how UT Dallas was advancing the SDGs. We also knew that we wanted our reports to be narrative focused and to highlight different areas across campus rather than simply be a numerical analysis. We also knew that we wanted to take the next step past our sustainability report and feature partners from across campus, as well as the work that we do in our office. As we know with the Sustainable Development Goals, many different professors and departments across campus contribute to their advancement, whether it be professors teaching classes or other departments introducing work for zero hunger or gender equality. And we knew we wanted to include these in our finished product. We also knew that we wanted this to be an ongoing advocacy tool, so we wanted to set up goals for the future within our Sustainable Development Goal report. So at the beginning of our process, we divided this report into 3 primary steps: data collection, developing the narrative, and finally, the final product. With data collection, we followed the AASHE STARS alignment guide for our university. In order to complete this data collection, I looked at each of the different STARS reporting points they had mentioned in their report, and then looked at our own STARS report from 2019. I scrolled through the STARS report for each of these reporting and then actually copy and pasted the information that was relevant to our particular SDG. I also looked at previous Office of Sustainability archives, other public-facing department websites, or news releases from the University of Texas at Dallas. I will share very quickly our final reporting page for our SDG 2 Zero Hunger. As you can see on this document, it ended up being a 6-page document with all of the different professors, departments, and work that was being done on campus to advance zero hunger. I completed one of these pages for each of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals as part of our data collection process. The next step after data collection was to work on developing the narrative. After we completed all of that data collection, we wanted it to be an accessible public-facing website. So as shown on this document, I then selected 5 to 7 highlights from each of the SDGs and wrote a brief description with hyperlinks to across campus work to highlight each of the work that was being done for the SDGs. A final page of that can be seen here, in which I actually highlighted an overview of zero hunger, an overview of zero hunger locally, and then 5 to 7 different highlights with pictures and information across campus. For zero hunger, for example, we highlighted the Comet Cupboard and on-campus food bank, our food recovery network at our dining hall, our partnership with North Texas Food Bank for a food driving, our community garden on campus, and then our pop-up farmers market, as well as goals for future work. I also completed one of these documents for each of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, highlighting different areas across campus that were contributing to the work of the SDGs. After we had developed those narrative pages and completed all of our data collection, the next step was to take that to a public-facing website. We collaborated with our web developers within the Facilities and Economic Development Department at the Office of Sustainability to translate those documents to a final public-facing website. This was super exciting as we were able to house it on the Office of Sustainability website and actually have 17 interactive website pages for each of the SDGs. I will share what that looks like super quickly. As you can see here, we have our main page for Sustainable Development Goal Advancement at UT Dallas, and you can click on any of these pages to see that Word document of data collection come to life. We also have these for each of the other 17 Sustainable Development Goals, So any community member, student, or faculty member can scroll through to see the work that we are doing at UT Dallas for a particular SDG. I highly encourage you to go take a look at this report if you are interested or want to see what a final product looks like on our end. We ended up deciding to go with the public-facing website because we wanted it to be a continuous interactive product rather than simply a PDF document that someone could scroll through. We have found that student engagement with a website such as this is much higher as people can actually visit whichever SDG they're interested and read more. Looking back, we finished up the project within one academic year. I focused on data collection from September to February and then developing the final product from February to June. This was completed primarily by myself, a part-time student worker, with guidance from the Director of Sustainability and Sustainability Coordinator at my university. I completed this project alongside other tasks and never worked more than 15 hours a week along with the other tasks that I was completing. So this is definitely something that's accomplishable within an academic year for a university. The end products that we ended up having were a data collection document for each SDG that focused on the STARS alignment to the Sustainable Development Goals. These were usually about 10 to 15 pages each. We also had a narrative document for each SDG that focused all of the highlights, which were usually about 4 to 5 pages each. And then lastly, the public-facing website that ended up being our final product. Some best practices and tips for other universities that may want to complete a similar Sustainable Development Goal report are outlined as follows. Firstly, with data collection, we highly recommend using a previous STARS or sustainability report to compile background information for each of the SDGs. Because our STARS report was so comprehensive, we had a really good baseline for completing our Sustainable Development Goal report. Also, recommend outlining possible highlights throughout the data collection process. So that way, when you look back to complete the final product, you already know what are the best things happening at my university in order to highlight them in a narrative format. When developing the narrative to feature in a public-facing website or public-facing report, we recommend looking at other departmental websites or news releases for narrative information. For example, when highlighting the Comet Cupboard, our on-campus food bank, we were able to actually connect with the Comet Cupboard and look at the Comet Cupboard's website to get more information to highlight them effectively on our own website. You can also reach out to professors or departments directly for further info on classes they teach, research they're completing, or other things that may be worth highlighting. Lastly, in order to really make this an interactive tool, we also worked to identify areas for further work at our own university when we were developing that narrative. How can you take the work that you're completing for an SDG to the next step? And so on our website, we also have several goals listed for each SDG for work that we hope to complete in the future. Lastly, in terms of the final product, we recommend finding an accessible place for a public report that people can actually look at and access easily. For us, that meant housing it on our Office of Sustainability website. We also recommend coordinating with web developers or whoever will be completing the final product from start to finish. We really wanted to make sure that our vision was clear, and it was amazing coordinating with our web developer who was able to really take our vision to life. So future goals for our Sustainable Development Goal report at our university are to continue to develop partnerships across our university using our SDG report, to utilize our SDG report as an advocacy framework when we advocate for further sustainability policy or the introduction of new practices. We also hope to update our report with future advancements across the university, or to update our report when we submit a new STARS report in order to make sure that it stays up to date on our website. And some other ideas that I've thrown around include SDG awards at our university, a possible SDG map that shows where all of the work is happening on campus, or the introduction of a student program for SDG ambassadors. We hope to continue to use this SDG report to introduce programs such as these. Lastly, I will say that if another university hopes to follow a similar process, it is definitely possible to reduce the amount of time that is necessary. The data collection and the narrative development portions of the Sustainable Development Goal report can easily be combined if you know what you want your final product to look like. However, it was definitely helpful for us to complete all three steps, as at the end we were able to look back at all of the work our university was doing when we narrowed it down to what we wanted to be included in our final report. So with that, thank you so much for listening in. You can feel free to contact me via email or connect with me on LinkedIn and message me if you have any questions about developing your own Sustainable Development Goal report. Or you can also contact my supervisor, Gary Cockey, who is the Director of Sustainability at UT Dallas and who was also very involved in this process. We would both be happy to answer any questions or to assist your university in completing a similar report. So thank you so much for listening.